everybody. Welcome to Lucas Tyndale Live. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there today. Today is a very special day, and I have a special guest host with me today, Miss Corey Minor-Smith. Welcome to the show.
Good evening. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers who and those who fill the role and duties of a mother out there in social media world. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yes, so tonight is our first night with a guest host. I'm really excited to have Corey here with me. If you guys missed the episode with Miss Corey Minor-Smith on here on Lucas Live talking about mental health, you got to go back and watch that episode. Check it out on YouTube at Lucas Tyndale. Go to the YouTube page and you'll see it there. It was an amazing, amazing interview. And Corey today was so kind as to agree to be the guest host. She is a mother herself. So happy Mother's Day to you, Corey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so you have two boys, is that right?
Yes, two sons, 24 and 17, Jalen and Jordan.
Okay, shout out to Jalen and Jordan on this Mother's Day.
Yes.
I hope they were treating you well. I hope they, something they did was special, because
well,
you deserve it.
I'm giving them a break. Jalen has not been feeling well. He's feeling much better today, but, we're glad that he's feeling better because he was carrying a temperature for a while, and that's the older one. So,
Man.
I was tending, and caring for him.
Yeah.
Making sure that he was okay at a distance, though.
Okay, good. It was at a safe distance. Yeah. All right. It was at a safe distance. Very good. All right. Because we don't want, because you don't know what's going around these days. Nowadays, if you get a cold, you're like scared to death. You're like, I got a fever. And people like, you're going to have to quarantine.
Especially with the fever. Yes.
Yeah. So glad he's doing well. Giving the boys a break. That's fair. That's fair. But we want to make sure that you're getting some love here on Mother's Day. Thank you. I see my wife here.
Thank you.
She put a comment. She said, "Happy Mother's Day, Corey." People are shouting you out.
Happy Mother's Day.
That's awesome. So, all right. So we're going to get started here. We want to welcome everybody again and thank you guys for participating and being here. We are using a new software. So to our loyal guests, we want to thank you. And we want you guys to let us know how it's going on your end. We should be live here on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and LinkedIn. So if all went according to plan, right? Corey, you know how sometimes stuff don't go according to plan.
Let us know that you see us and you hear us okay. Give us some thumbs up, some waves.
Right.
Let us know you're there.
Show us some love. I hope to see your comments in the broadcast, but sometimes that acts a little funny. But we'll figure it out and we'll work it out and we will still get with you. JJ Lilly, hello. I see your comment there. So thank you guys for the comments.
Hi, JJ.
JJ is such a loyal fan. We just can't thank you enough for being here with us every night. And for everybody who's joining us and giving us some time on this Mother's Day, we can't thank you enough. We have a special guest tonight, and it's going to be a great conversation. Someone who has great experience in creating film and documentaries and working as a sports writer as well. Amazing story. So we're so excited to have him here tonight, and we don't want to delay it much longer. For everybody else who's making those comments, Tiffany, Corinne, again, thank you guys. We see you guys. Thank you. Keep making those comments. Participate. If you have questions along the way, please feel free to ask your questions. If we don't get to your question right away, that doesn't mean we're ignoring your question. We will get to your question. And we're just glad to have everybody. Please share this broadcast. Please give hearts to this broadcast. If you're on Periscope, the more hearts you give, the more Twitter says this is important. If you're on Facebook, the same thing, right? They seem to like the interaction. It helps them realize this is something we should show to more people. And we want to show it to more people, right, Corey?
That's right. And thank you for staying so committed to this project. You're building up your following and having some great guests on. So thank you for the opportunity to be your first co-host.
Yes. Corey, thank you so much for saying that. It is work, but it's fun. It's heart work, not hard work. Shout out to my man, Anthony President. He always talks about heart work, not hard work. He's going to be a guest on our show. But that's what it is, and it's a labor of love. And shout out to my mom. As you guys know, I started this show a month ago after losing my mom, who passed away in the Cleveland Clinic due to breast cancer, a week after they shut everything down because of the coronavirus. So sadly, she spent her last week alone. But my father and I were able to be there for the last 20 minutes, praying with her, loving her, and just letting her know she wasn't alone. And after I got home from the hospital that day, I don't know, something was burning in me. I had to do something different. I had to give some more to the world. That's who she was. And a few days later, I hit go live, and I've been doing it ever since. So this show is definitely dedicated to my mom. So It is a pleasure and a joy. Without further ado, I see people coming in on LinkedIn. I can see the LinkedIn comments and everything. This is going great. Thank you guys for your comments.
Great.
We'll find a way to pull those up on the screen. But without further ado, I want to bring in our special guest today. He's been so kind as to agree to join us here today on this Mother's Day. He is the creator, the visionary behind Women of Troy, amongst other things.
Yes.
Also, if you've seen the Cleveland documentary Believeland, he worked on that project as well as a project called Pass Interference, which we're going to talk about, which touches on mental health. And with this being Mental Health Awareness Month, we do want to talk about that as well. Without further ado, let me welcome to the show Mr. Branson Wright. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Welcome, Branson.
Hey, guys. Corey, Lucas, I'm so excited to be on. I'm glad you guys felt that I should be on your show. It's a pleasure.
All right.
Absolutely.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you for taking time out to join us tonight and share your great words with the audience, and especially in regards to your career. So thank you very, very much.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Branson, so we want to get started. This show is about education, motivation, liberation. We want to teach the people something. We want to motivate them to do something with what they learn and want to set them free, because sometimes while you may be motivated, you may be educated, you don't feel free to live your dreams. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey to getting where you are as a producer and some of the things that you've done? Is this what young Branson always dreamed of doing, or what was your journey like?
Well, this is an hour show, right?
Yes, sir. We got time. Hey, we can go longer if you got more stories. We'll take it.
All right. We're going to start from the very beginning. The very beginning. And, when people talk about words being important and people, the power of the tongue, yes, and whether it's positive or negative. But in my instance, in the third grade, we would, for those that are not old enough to remember, Hot Wheels. Remember?
They're still out.
They're still out there? Oh, I don't know. Hot Wheels are still there.
I think they are.
Yes. Yes.
Well, in the third grade, we used to race Hot Wheels before school, lunchtime, and after school.
Wow.
And we'd argue on whose car won the most races. So I said, you know what? I'm going to end this argument, especially since I thought I was winning all the time. I'm going to record this and make a newspaper. And
wow.
So I got construction paper, that came in the green, red, and all different colors, blue. And I folded it over. I put on the cover, Race Away News. And inside,
wow.
And inside, I would record who won, who lost, and doing things like that. Well, one of my classmates, his father, I'm a native of Cincinnati, and one of my classmates, his father played Major League Baseball. He had played with the Reds, and he said, "Branson, now this is gonna really show how old I am. He says, Branson, keep this up, you'll be another Howard Cosell." and for our millennials out there, Howard Cosell was a great broadcaster, sportscaster back in the day. And I thought about it. I said, okay. So it just sort of stuck with me. So from the third grade on, I wanted to be a newspaper man. I wanted to be a reporter.
Wow.
Now, like most kids, I wanted to play, and I did play sports. And I said, well, I'm going to play Major League Baseball. And when I retire, I'm going to be a newspaper person.
Right.
So I didn't make the major leagues. But from there to high school, I started my high school newspaper. To college, I went in knowing what I wanted to do. I mean, the first week in college, I went to find a student newspaper. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
This is somewhere I want to go. So Leo Cardenas is his name. And I always tell Leo, I said, Leo, I became a sports writer because of you, because of your words. So I think it's important for, sometimes we hear the negative, when people say negative things about us, but I think there's enough positive out there where people encourage us, and then we could fulfill our dreams because of them believing in us from the very beginning.
Amazing.
That is a great, great, great story. 3rd grade. That is so awesome.
3rd grade.
Yes.
Incredible.
And it's a lot of, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, incredible. 3rd grade, like Corey was saying. So many of us had dreams of being something in the 3rd grade. Like, they said, you can be whatever you want to be. And we was like, I think I'm going to be an astronaut or something crazy.
Yeah.
And most of us haven't left our city, let alone left the planet. So the fact that you actually accomplished that from a 3rd grade vision and dream is incredible. Continue.
So, and it's funny, you talk to a lot of my friends, they always say, Branson knew what he wanted to do at an early age. Everyone always saw me as that.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing. It was able to be fulfilled. So we're going to fast forward.
All right.
I graduated from college, and for an entire year, I couldn't find a job in the business.
Wow.
I flew to Portland, Oregon for an interview. I went to Michigan. I went to Kentucky. I drove my mother's car from Cincinnati to Reading, PA. On the way back, the engine died.
Oh, my.
Wow.
And I didn't get the job.
Wow.
But you didn't give up. You didn't give up.
Motivation. Yes.
Yes.
So during that whole year, I'm figuring, am I good enough? What am I doing or not doing? So at this time, I became an extra in a movie. Do you remember Raging Harlem with Forrest Whitaker, Robin Givens?
Wow.
And again, dating myself.
That's good stuff. That's classic.
So I was an extra in the movie, and at the same time, I applied for the police academy in Cincinnati, and I had gone through the entire process. So that weekend, I think that it was a Friday. So that Monday, I was to start the academy. So while I was on the set, I befriended one of the actors. His name was Ron Taylor. And I said to Ron, Ron, I want to work, but I really want to be a reporter. And the only opportunity I've been able to get is to be a police officer. But I don't want to be a police officer. And he said, listen, I was playing football in Houston. He was playing in the old AFL. And after 5 years, he said, I retired because I always wanted to be in show business. And he said in 1970, he took a Greyhound bus from Houston to New York. And he said each day I did whatever I needed to do to get into the business, looking through the newspapers for the auditions, making contacts with people. And he said each day that you miss, you'll miss a day. So every day has to be your job. So
motivate them. Go ahead. This is good. I'm feeling it. Okay.
So he said, and after a year's time, he's on the set of doing The Wiz.
Wow.
$1,500 a week in 1970.
Wow.
A lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
A lot of money now.
Right.
And so he said, so you just have to, every day, it has to be your goal and don't miss a day. And he said, understand your family. They're concerned. They want you to work. He said, but that's what they're supposed to do. Yeah. He said, but this is your vision and you have to work toward it. So I felt so good with them telling me that. And I said, okay, now the hard part is to tell the academy, especially at this time, they were trying to recruit a lot of black officers. Okay. And I was one of 9. And so I went to talk to the lieutenant who's black. And I felt so bad. And I told him, I said, hey, I thank you guys for this opportunity, but I need to pursue journalism and I'm sorry. And he said, you know what? We were trying to figure out why you were doing this. I'm like, what?
Wow.
He said, because they do extensive interviews, of your neighbors, your teachers, your family. And he said, everyone we spoke to said, you're a writer. He said, they didn't understand.
They didn't get it.
And he said, look, he says, good luck. And if it doesn't work out, we're here. Mm-hmm. That was a relief.
Wow.
And 2 months later, I got my first job in the business. I got a call and got my job. And that was August of 1990.
That's incredible.
Well, that really, really shows that it does take hard work and persistence. Like every door is not going to automatically open. It's not going to be a using the phrase from the Wiz, a golden road that's going to lead you right to where you want to go.
Right.
A lot of people think, this path to success is a straight line, but it is not. It's a bunch of swirls and go back and start over. But how dedicated and committed are you to reaching your particular goal? And at the same time, having the ability to assess whether that goal is something you should continue to pursue, because sometimes it's not. But when you feel that passion in your heart and your soul, and that's what you want to do, things will happen that will lead you to where you're supposed to be. So that's an awesome story.
Yeah, thanks. And it's, excellent. And as I said, when I started, the positive words from people and the motivation to help you. And you certainly is not doing things alone because you need that support. And, and I never got to thank Ron. He passed years ago, and I never got a chance to tell him that, hey man, I became a writer, and thank you for those words. And it was just so helpful.
That's so great.
I'll quickly go through my career. So
let's go back. Well, hold on. Let's jump a little bit. Okay. Because I think that was a piece that people need to let that set in for a second. Okay. Go do the job that you want. Go work at the job, toward the job, positioning yourself for the job until you get the job. Right? Like, don't wait. Don't work. I mean, you may find yourself underpaid or giving more time and energy to something that's not paying off in the moment. But if you believe that that's your future, you have to be willing to invest in yourself. So I want the audience, if you guys appreciated that, again, give some hearts, give some love. Don't forget to share this broadcast. And I just wanted to also make sure we shout out our sponsor for today's show. You guys know we've been talking about HMA. Check out HMA Enroll to Save. Go to the link HMA Enroll to Save immediately following this broadcast and check out Health Matching Account for opportunities to double your healthcare savings. If you're saving money because you have a medical procedure that you plan to get done, be it elective. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, well, what if I want to get a tummy tuck because I've been on this quarantine 15? Can I do it with the HMA? I said, yes, you can. You can save up money through the HMA and double what you save. So you save $5,000, you get $10,000 to spend toward your procedure. So somebody coming out of the quarantine and gonna need a little HMA action. So check out HMA EnrollToSave.com. If you guys want more information, please reach out to me, message me, inbox me. I'd love to share more information with you about that. There's a bunch of different plans for different prices that fit into your budget that would allow you to start on the road to savings. If you've been looking to save money anyway, towards things for the future, this is going to help you save toward medical expenses to cover those deductibles and those out-of-pocket expenses and even elective procedures that you may be looking for you, your family, your children. So check out HMA Enroll to Save. Shout out to Health Matching Account, our sponsor for today. So Branson, one of the projects, your most recent project, I want us to touch on that for a second, and then I want us to talk about some other things. We're Northeast Ohio is a lot of our base here. We have people watching from everywhere, but so I will also want to talk about Believeland, and we do want to talk about mental health and pass interference. But right now, your most current project is a documentary that just came out on HBO. That is a big deal. So round of applause, first of all, for you.
Yes.
That is incredible, right?
We'll do some snaps.
I know, do some snaps. Ladies and gentlemen, show some love in the comments. I mean, this is amazing to have a documentary from a guy who was trying to figure out how to, from the Hot Wheels, third grade dude, to having something on HBO. How? Tell us a little bit. Tell us what the Women of Troy, tell us what that documentary is about, and then tell us a little bit how you got in position to tell that story. I know it wasn't an overnight success. I know it didn't happen all at once. So if you could help us understand what it's about and kind of your journey with that piece of your career.
Well, what it's about is the 1982-83 USC women's basketball team, which had some of the best women's basketball players in the
all
world.
Time. Right.
And as I tell people, Cynthia Cooper came off the bench. And
Wow.
she's in the Hall of she's in the Hall of Fame.
I didn't even realize that. It's crazy. Wow.
So, and Cheryl Miller, considered the greatest women's player ever. And you had Pam and Paula McGee. And again, for the youngsters out there, JaVale McGee of the Lakers, his mom and auntie.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh, they were both on the team. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Wow.
Okay.
Yes. His mom and auntie are twins. So you just had this, as I always tell people, they were the Fab Five before the Fab Five.
Yeah.
In terms of the culture, you had 5 Black women starting on a national championship team. And because basketball at 70s and 80s, it was mostly a sort of a pedestrian southern sports. Louisiana Tech was really really good at that time. And then you had this West Coast team. You had these sisters. They were beautiful. You know, they could play. Right. And they were in Hollywood. I mean, it was the perfect storm. Right. And they won. And it just was always in the back of my mind through the years. Is like, why hasn't there been anything on this great team? So, which goes into how this started. In 2008, when that was my last year on the Cavs beat, I was taken off the beat because I was working on another project, and my editor didn't like that, which I understand.
Okay.
So I was taken off the beat. So I'm basically working in the office at this time. So because of my relationship with Cheryl Miller from when she was a sideline reporter in the NBA, I called her and I said, Cheryl, look, I don't know how I'm going to get this done. Now, I haven't done any films or anything prior to this time.
Right.
And I said, Cheryl, I don't know how it's going to get done, but I just want your permission for me to pursue this. And she said, sure. She said, I talk to my teammates all the time. Let me check with them, make sure nothing's in the works. And, I'll get back to you, which she did. And it was go for it. Wow. So that was 2008. So 2012, while I was working on another project, my first film, I get a call from a gentleman by the name of Gary Cohen, calls me out the blue. And he says, I saw your article on the Ali Summit. The Ali Summit is when Jim Brown called all the top Black athletes at the time, right? Jabbar, Russell, and to Cleveland to support Ali being a conscientious objector from going to the war.
Right.
So I wrote this article, which I won some awards for it, by the way.
Congratulations. Awesome. Amazing.
So, just slipping that in.
I know, please let them know. Right. Come on, y'all. Right. Show the man some love. I love it. We appreciate
Congratulations, Brandon.
Yeah. So Gary calls and he says, hey, this is the best article I've seen on this. I want to get some phone numbers from you. I want to call Jabbar. I want to call Jim Brown because Gary, he's a filmmaker and he wanted to do a film on this. And then to myself, I'm thinking, who is this guy? Calling me.
Right.
Want phone numbers? I mean, what?
Taking over your project.
Right. So something told me to give him the numbers, which I did. And then he and I started a relationship. And I said, hey, Gary, I'm working on The Blur, my first film. I can't finish it. I don't have any money. And he says, oh, I know a young guy, loves basketball. He's an editor. He'll help you finish it, which he did. Wow. And so Gary and I start to talk. So that was, like I said, 2012. So 2013, I said, hey, Gary, I've been wanting to do this Women of Troy on the USC team. What do you think of this? So I wrote something up and he said, okay, this is cool. So went to ESPN. And
wait, hold on. You just went to see. I can't just go to ESPN first of all. So apparently, your position I didn't get to just call Cheryl Miller either and walk up to her and talk to her. And then I got some ideas too, Branson. Okay, but I can't just go to ESPN. So it's awesome that you have positioned yourself in a way to where you even had the ability to do that. So that's an amazing part of the story, and I think that's important for our audience to think, wow, he did something in advance to position himself to be able to have these conversations. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're doing every day, the relationships you're making, the networking you're doing, the people you're helping and supporting in whatever they're doing, it could be the thing that positions you for the thing you really want. So amazing. Right. So you reach out to ESPN.
Don't just meet people. You need to meet people. Like, even when they don't know you're looking at their name badge, you better take a mental note when you go to the bathroom, write it down, find out who that person is. And nowadays you have LinkedIn. You could immediately look somebody up and connect with them, remind them how you met them. So don't just meet people to meet people. Meet them, know what they do. And later on, or even then, it can be helpful for your career.
Absolutely. Which is how Corey got Les Brown to write it forward again, right? Yes, okay. I'm not jealous or mad, Corey. You know that. I keep talking about that on the show, but it's all good. It's all love, but whatever. So that's really great. So ESPN turned you down. Tell us a little more, Branson. I'm sorry. You can continue.
Oh, no. I'm saying they turned us down, and I didn't initiate the phone call. That was Gary.
Okay.
His relationship.
The relationship.
Because Gary has done about, the 30 for 30 series on ESPN. He's done about 12.
Wow.
12 of them. So very connected. So they said no. And then we went to a few other networks that will remain nameless.
Okay.
And they said no. Uh-huh. Then in 2018, now 2008, when I called Cheryl, 2018.
10 years later.
10 years later, HBO says yes. And we started filming in October of 2018, and it came out, in March of this year. And it was, it just goes back to the third grade, to when I almost became a police officer, the staying focused and remaining encouraged.
Yes.
Right.
Because it was, it was tough. I mean, there was times I didn't think it would ever happen. There's times I would watch other 30 for 30s, look at the screen and scream like, there's no way I can't have.
Right.
Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
It was just nuts. So,
yes.
So definitely answered prayer without question.
Beautiful.
Being able to accomplish that.
Beautiful.
And it's a great story of some tremendous, talented women. And I think it's so awesome to have the mother and the aunt whose son, nephew, plays, because usually it's the father and then the son is coming up later. Somebody needs to do a story on that.
Right. That's the next one.
Female empowerment and the son, following in his mother's and his aunt's footsteps. I love that.
Yeah, and JaVale's mother also has a daughter that played in the WNBA.
Awesome.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Yes. So just the more remarkable thing about these women is that not only is our beautiful, athletic, smart, they have PhDs, run a bank. There's a dentist, 2 coaches. It just
showing
shows
life after basketball.
Yes.
Successful professional lives after basketball. That is awesome. You had some really, really nice testimonials regarding the women of Troy as well.
Yes.
Is there anyone that stood out from any particular person or one that just touched your heart that you could share with us?
Wow. I was looking at some of those yesterday. The one, Sinbad, was really cool.
Okay.
The one with Sinbad, the fact that he watched and, I can't wait to see this. And he made comments, and just so many fathers were happy that their daughters could
right.
That's
and
big.
It was so many of those, and that really touched me.
That's big. Yeah, I saw.
And for
Magic
the young
Johnson.
People, Sinbad was a very popular comedian who
Sinbad
had his own sitcom and a very popular party island thing he used to do. I forget which island that was, but he would do this annual thing at an island.
Aruba?
Aruba. Yep. Aruba. Yep. Kind of like Tom Joyner. Well, I don't even know if that still goes on, but
Right.
Yes, he was a very popular comedian.
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw Magic Johnson tweeted that Cheryl Miller was the best female basketball player he had ever seen. Recently he tweeted that, and for her to be a part of that team, fascinating. So now, briefly, just a piece of this story. Cheryl Miller may be, I mean, she's obviously one of the most well-known, top one or two most well-known of that team. But there's a lot of people who don't know her, a new generation who wouldn't know her. Sister of Reggie Miller, for those who know him. And if you're watching the Jordan documentary, I'm sure we're going to see him and Reggie Miller battling soon, any night now. But when you think Cheryl Miller had huge aspirations, had been seen as the best female basketball player coming along ever. Everybody even Reggie says when they were growing up, everybody was saying, your sister's better at basketball than you. I mean, this is an NBA Hall of Famer who, as he grew up, everybody's like, your sister's better at basketball than you. So shout out to my son and daughter, Lucas and Ashanti. They're both basketball players. Both of them are very talented. And my daughter has this fire and this tenacity that sometimes people are like, I don't know. She might be the one because she's just such an impact player at all times. But Cheryl Miller, a lot of people don't realize about Cheryl Miller's career being cut short. Can you tell us a little bit about that without giving away the whole movie? Because y'all go on HBO. If you have to, download the HBO app. If you have to get the free one, pay for a subscription, do what you got to do. You got to see this documentary, ladies and gentlemen. Support this project, support this work. But can you tell us a little bit about Cheryl's career and what happened there?
Well, we'll start with high school. I mean, Cheryl scored 105 points in a high school game.
Crazy.
Wow.
And there was still time left on the clock when she went to the bench.
Crazy.
Which was so amazing.
Insane.
And she was the first, she's 6'3", 6'2", 6'3", and not only she could play in the post, she could handle the ball, she could shoot, sort of like some guy in Akron we all know.
Some young man.
before their time,
Yes.
She was definitely before her time. And unfortunately, some things happened in college that cut a career that we didn't get to see how much greater she would have been. But that says something about an athlete that didn't play beyond college, and they're considered one of, if not the greatest in their sport.
Yes.
Incredible. So I know there's another project, and we may touch on this again, Corey. That a project that Branson did that really touched you. Corey, tell us a little bit about that project from your perspective, and then let's talk to Branson a little bit about that as well.
Yes, Branson, I really appreciate you sharing Pass Interference with me. It's about Deron Bess, who played in the NFL and experienced severe mental illness. And what I was very impressed about that work is that Deron was one of the executive producers, or was the executive producer. And I felt like that meant he really wanted his story to be out, not just because he was in the NFL, but more importantly, the significance of dealing with severe mental illness. How was that project and working with him, working with his mother, and what impact did they want to have on the audience?
Well, when I was helping on the Browns beat, that's when I had started developing a relationship with Devon, and I just thought he was just a cool guy. I said, man, this guy's cool, and the fact that I grew up an Oakland Raiders fan, and the fact that he was from Oakland, I'm like, I talked to him about the Raiders,
Right, and I lived in South Vallejo, so I was immediately connected with the Bay Area. Yeah, I was immediately connected to the movie.
Right, so
yeah.
So, and I even gone to some charity events that he participated in and had his children with him. And then so, like I said, I always just thought he was a cool guy. And I remember once sitting with him by the locker and I said, have you ever thought about doing a story on your life? And he says, oh, man, he said, people have said that all the time. And so we exchanged numbers and just, kept that in the back of our heads. And then in December, he had an incident in Miami. And then the Browns basically suspended him. And so it came out as if it was a drug issue.
Right.
But it was a mental health issue. And unfortunately, his previous team, the Miami Dolphins, weren't upfront with the Browns to let them know that he had had some issues, even where his mom had to come from California, had to come all the way to Miami to help. So when the Browns air quotes suspended him, he had reached out to me, and he says, Branson, I think I'm going to be ready to do this film. I need to tell my story. And that's how it started.
That is so significant, because people may get into criminal activity issues or trouble, and it's automatic to take them to jail, or automatic that it's a drug issue or alcohol issue, versus looking deeper into a particular situation. And unfortunately, it may have to occur 2, 3, 5, 10 times before you get to the root cause, which is, in this case, severe mental illness. So we're not just dealing with depression or anxiety, but issues that may deal with delusions or hallucinations, anosognosia, which is where the person is totally unaware that they even have an illness. Wow. And that tends to lead a person to not want to take the medicine, because if I'm not sick, what do I need medicine for? Yeah. But I really appreciate that his mother stood by his side and helped, and she was open and vulnerable about her own issues or dealing with some mental health challenges in her life. And I hope that sports teams are able to address this more with their athletes and those that they may recruit, and just work together as a unit, each team, even when they're recruiting and transferring players. What do you call that when they transfer the players?
The free agents are traded.
Right, trading.
Trading them when they're trading them, so that their treatment can continue. Right. That's an important part of them being able to continue to play for that particular team. And it brings to mind Andrew Luck, who, you talked about Cheryl, her career ending early in college, but he ended it. He ended his NFL career for his own mental health's sake. Who's willing to make a sacrifice like that?
Right.
Because he didn't have to. He hadn't gone that far down, I guess, in a spiral from the outside looking in, but he knew that he needed to let it go and retire. And he was 28 or 29? Yeah. Very, very young. Yeah. So what was the most impactful part of putting that film together?
I think it was, because of, it's an ongoing thing with his mental illness. I mean, there was times that I didn't hear from Devon at all. So at the time we shot some of the film here, then he moved back to Florida with his family. So we had some issues trying to get back in touch with him. He wouldn't always call me back. And then when he did, we'd pick up where we left off. Then we shot some there in Miami. Then he moved to Arizona, and we were also trying to do some shooting, which we did in Oakland, but we wanted him to come to Oakland. And he had some episodes and he didn't come there. So throughout this process, we got it done. And he was, what I love about Devon is he recognized his issue, and he was happy that I didn't lose patience with him.
Right.
That I just stayed the course. And if he needed time to do something else, that's fine. Because, his wife is from Hawaii. I think once they went to Hawaii, and I didn't hear from him for months.
Yeah, but that sounds about right. If I go to Hawaii, you might not hear from me for a couple of months. That's normal. That happens. That's normal.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But the main objective, as he and I both shared, is just to show people that mental illness, it doesn't matter how much money you make, what status you have.
Yes.
And it's okay. Get help, and it's okay.
Yeah. Right.
And that's what we wanted to get out there.
You also had a couple of clips from another NFL player. How was it being able to have him to be a part of the film, and because he also dealt with mental illness and still dealing with it in his life? Brandon Marshall.
Yeah, Brandon Marshall, and he's and he has a film or he has one coming out. When I called him, he was all for it. because he was good friends with Devon. So he was all for it and willing to talk. And off of that, let me tell you about Brandon Marshall. He was playing for the Bears at this time, right?
Yes.
So he said, well, come to Chicago and you can interview me where I live. And went to his place. I'm sure, Corey, you've been shopping in Chicago. What is that? Is it the Miracle Mile?
The $1 Million Mile.
The Miracle Mile.
Something like that, right there on Lake Boulevard.
Magnificent Mile.
Magnificent Mile. That's what it is,
right? he had this. I don't know, call it a townhouse, but you went to the elevator. There's a guy, a security guy, signed you in. And then just like in Power, when the elevator opens up in their apartment or their condo,
right.
It was that. Wow. And his place was so huge. It was huge. And he says, oh, it's the same way upstairs. He had another floor.
Wow.
Wow.
It's crazy. And we went out on the balcony and we were so high up, you had to hold on because you're going to get blown off. I'm like, wow. But anyway, I just had to, say that. But he understood the importance of getting the message out.
And that puts things in perspective too. I mean, we smile and laugh because maybe it's something we don't necessarily envision or we have right now, a penthouse and 2 floors in Chicago. But again, showing that mental illness does not discriminate. I mean, It doesn't matter your socioeconomic status, your race, gender, age, culture. Anybody can be impacted at any time. You don't have to have a family member, mother or father who has mental illness. It can just happen with life stressors. Of course, being aggravated by any drugs and alcohol that anybody takes. But there's just so many different factors that are involved with mental illness. And, once a person is diagnosed, if they ever are diagnosed. So with these 2 particular situations with Brandon as well as with Duran, that they were diagnosed. They sought treatment, did well. And as we need to understand as a community, as a family member or a friend, it is very likely that a person with severe mental illness may, regress in their progress in treatment and exhibit symptoms again, as we saw with Duran. So I hope that he and his family are continuing to work together to help him through. And I hope that employers, not just sports teams, but all employers take these types of things into consideration with their employees, because ultimately you want the person to be him or her best self when they're at work and to be able to continue to work. And if they aren't able to continue to work, to help have them for them to have the highest quality of life that they can have after work. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And how are people able to watch Pass Interference?
Well, for now, we've just been doing it, going to schools and sports teams and things of that nature. At some point, probably you'll get it broadcasted or somewhere where people can go see it. Right. Haven't gotten there yet. And plus, there's some footage on there, some NFL footage that they would charge me an arm and a leg.
Oh, wow.
If I put that out on TV and making money. And they're like, well, wait a second. So
right.
So for now, I'm just using it as an educational
purposes.
Yeah.
That's
well,
awesome.
It was my honor, and I really appreciated having the opportunity to preview it, because it has been very educational for me as I continue to advocate for families and friends who want to be there for their loved one, because some people just simply cannot deal with it, can't put up with it, because the symptoms can be very volatile, aggressive, scary. But it's important that that person still has love and support in their lives, even if you have to do it from a distance. So thank you for sharing that. And if you do communicate with his mom, please let her know she has a fan in Canton, Ohio, and lift her up in my prayers.
That's a good point. I haven't reached out to her for a while. And, today would be a good day.
It would be.
Yeah.
It would be. Do it.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think today, with it being Mother's Day, I know for myself, Branson, I mentioned it maybe at the top of the show, but my mother passed away on March 26th. So this is really new for me. It's my first Mother's Day without my mother. And, you know, it's challenging, but I'm grateful to both of you even today for agreeing to be on the show. And we're going to continue on with more of your story. And to all those who are out there watching and listening, who are giving us your time on this Mother's Day, or if you're watching this by replay, we thank you for being here with us. It's a special time. It's a special moment. And as I think about it, I know there are people who are suffering from the loss of their mother recently. Maybe it was due to some illness. Maybe it was due to the coronavirus, COVID-19, because people truly are dying from this disease. Or maybe it was 20 years ago or 10 years ago, and it's still grieving you today. Ladies and gentlemen, there is help for you if you're struggling with these things. We want to offer support in that way. When it comes to getting help with mental health, we want to make sure that people have the resources they need. So you can always reach out to me, reach out to Corey. We want to make sure people have the help and support. This show is more than just a place for us to come and have interesting guests and conversations. We want it to be something that offers help and support to you on the other end of your phone, your TV, your tablet, your computer. We want you to know that our hearts are with you and that we too are going through these experiences. And also, I like to bring on guests who can share their story. Branson's story today about his journey. The road, I always say the road to glory is not a glorious road, okay? And people assume it's some glorious trip. You know, they're easing down the road. Back to the Wiz, right?
Right,
They try to ease on down the road. Sometimes you got to run. Sometimes you got to crawl. Sometimes somebody got to carry you on down the road. Sometimes you got to jump over some stuff. You got to leap over a cliff, you know. And
duck and dive.
Right. It's like pitfall, right? You got to run. It's like you got to get out the way. So that's the reality of life, and that's what this show is about: education, motivation, liberation. We want you to know you have dreams. You're not alone. You have to pursue them. You got to go after it, and we try to bring on great guests that can help you with the back end piece where you may be struggling with some mental health or family members or things, as well as those who have had these levels of success that can tell you there were moments where there was doubt. If you start a project in 2008 and it doesn't come out, it doesn't get the green light for 10 years, and then it doesn't come out till 12 years later, you may go through some moments of doubt, but he kept going. So, Branson, thank you for that. One of the things I'd like to talk to you about now is your journey as a beat writer. I think I've heard, like, you hear the term beat writer, you hear it in movies and stuff. Tell us what that means to be a beat writer, which was your dream to be a journalist and a writer. And then tell us about, the teams that you worked with, and what is that life like as a beat writer? What does that really look like? The average person can't picture being that close to these athletes and the inner workings of what's going on. Help us understand that world. Maybe somebody out there wants to be this in their future, and this is going to be exactly what they need to hear.
Well, I always compare it to a police officer, a beat. It's something they're at daily. If he's a beat cop and he has a certain section of Cleveland, that's his area, which means he needs to get to know the community, gets to know the right people, and just it's your life, it's your beat. And with sports in particular, when I covered the Cavs, I had to get to know everybody.
Like me.
Yeah.
Got to know Corey in that. Right.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
And one of the good things about a beat writer is not just the players and the coaches and the GMs. You need to get to know the people connected outside of that. And like one of my things when I covered teams, I knew all the janitors at the facility. Wow. I know the cooks. I tried to know the ushers, because everybody has a story and see or hear something.
Yep.
And have the most information half the time. Very informative. Can get you into the secret places or down to another seat.
Right. Absolutely.
I love
it. Get to know them all. So when it's a beat, it truly is a beat. And so I've covered the Cavaliers as a beat. The didn't do the Indians. Did the Browns as a beat. And one of the most fun I had as a beat, and what helped me as a journalist, is there was my third job was in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and they had a minor league baseball team, and my beat, I had to cover this team, 140 games, and I would ride the bus with this team across the Midwest.
Oh my!
To great cities like Clinton, Iowa, and Beloit, Wisconsin.
Hey,
you could do a documentary on that,
right?
I'm sure.
Exactly. I mean, all of these cities and these not 5-star hotels. You side of the road hotels, but it was fun because there was a romance about it. It was like the bare minimum. And I enjoyed it. It got to meet some wonderful people. In fact, Alex Rodriguez, he was in the Midwest League that I covered, and we started a relationship.
Alex Rodriguez, Alex Rodriguez. Okay, I didn't know it was just some random brother named Alex. Okay,
Lopez.
All right. The A-Rod. Okay, continue. All right.
A-Rod played in Appleton, Wisconsin.
Wow.
And I actually got him a haircut because there was everybody wasn't cutting brother's hair. And so there was a brother on the team that I covered in West Michigan, cut Alex's hair. And so we had a pretty good relationship. Now, when he made the majors and they came, he was here with the Yankees and they came to play the Indians, and we're sitting in the dugout and it's just me and A-Rod just sitting there talking. And all these other reporters are like standing back like, oh my gosh, how do you know him? The other, it's because we go way back.
Wow.
We go back. And some people will look down on being a beat writer of a minor league team. But again, about being patient, it paid off later. We started.
There's some major things that can come from
the minors.
Minor starts. That's right.
Preach, Corey. All right.
Exactly.
Love it. Yes. Amen.
Indeed.
Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. So you made that journey. So the beat writer, who are some, Alex Rodriguez, you mentioned a lot of Northeast Ohio people are on the broadcast. When you think about some of those Browns teams or some of those Cavs teams, who are some of the players that you are around every day engaging? And do you go to practices? Are you just at the games? Are you on the plane? Are you in a bus? Are you meeting them at places? Is it at home games and away games? Just a little more insight into what was that like, and who are some of the people you got to communicate with?
Well, on the major league level, you don't travel on the same bus or plane with the team. You make your own arrangements and you meet them there. You generally don't even stay in the same hotel. So basically your interaction is at practice and at games, or if you run into them at a restaurant or whatnot. That happens. And you're not, as a beat writer, you're not to be friends in air quotes with everybody.
Okay, right.
But human nature, you're going to develop relationships with somebody.
Right.
I was really good friends with Ricky Davis. We became really good friends. Eric Snow and I became good friends.
That's awesome.
Cantonian.
Yes.
Shout out to Kent. Yes, Kent McKinley. Michigan State.
And there was always, they knew I had a job to do. There was always a respect. I wasn't a columnist. A columnist really writes a lot of opinion.
Okay.
But sometimes even as a reporter, you're writing a lot of factual things. Sometimes an opinion is in there. And if we had a disagreement, we talk about it. But it was professional. We kept it professional.
So good. That's so good. I want to thank our people who are on right now. I just want to shout a few people out. We like to take some time throughout the show. You guys feel free to throw something in the comments. Say hello to our guest today. Again, Miss Tiffany Skillern, thank you so much for being here on the broadcast.
Soror.
All right.
Sorority sister Tiffany.
Oh, that's your sorority sister. All right. All right. Deltas, is that right? Y'all in the house. All right. Tiffany's, she said that. Okay, I didn't even see that. She said, hey, soror. Okay, she said that earlier. I thought she couldn't spell. I didn't know what that was. I said, soror. What
yes,
did she
soror. Yes.
What soror is that?
Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Oh, okay. I'm familiar with that.
All right. He's looking around.
Because that's my wife's a Delta.
Oh,
is that right?
Tell her I said hello.
Yeah. I was trying to look for something in here.
Right, to represent it. Right. He's like, how can I represent? That's all right. Shout out to Sharice Grantham. Thank you, one of our loyal fans. Thank you for being here on Lucas Live again. We really appreciate you being here with us. And Sharice has donated some gifts that we're going to give out to our audience. in a future broadcast, some Avon products. Also, I saw Rob Thompson, Sexy Rob, in the house today. Sexy Rob, the man. Yes, I have to call him Sexy Rob again on the show. Hello, he said Happy Mother's Day. Shout out to my man Sexy Rob. We are going to be continuing a giveaway through Sexy Rob, and I'll be sharing on some broadcasts this week about how you can enter into a chance to win a mattress set and or a gift card from Dorsey's Furniture. So shout out to Dorsey's Furniture, who is sponsoring. Sexy Rob did a performance on Friday, and we're going to do another one this Friday, and all of our tech is going to work just perfectly this Friday. So stay tuned. We're going to have some good music and a good time with my man Sexy Rob. To my wife, Corinne Marie Tyndale, again, as always, thank you for being here. Mr. Lester Sanders, shout out to Lester Sanders and all the great work that he's doing. Getting people ready for college in the midst of the madness and going on. Y'all check out LesterSanders.com. for more information on that. JJ Lilly, thank you for being here. Angela Hardesty, Dewan Lightfoot, Tyler Thatcher, everybody who's making comments, thank you. And to all of you who are watching this again, who are listening in while you're doing other things, thank you for being here. If they're listening to this later as a podcast, we appreciate you being here. If you're watching us as a live video podcast, we appreciate that. Whether you're on LinkedIn, Periscope, YouTube, Facebook, you are a part of our family. We thank you, and we want you to continue to come on with us each night, Sunday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, so we can continue to bring you great guests. We have a great lineup this week. You don't want to miss it. But back to my friend Branson here today. So your journey has been challenging at times, I'm guessing. Can you share with us some adversity? Now, you talked about the time frame of some things, but is there any other adversity that you could share that might liberate our audience to help them understand, that, again, like I said, the road to glory is not always a glorious road. What are some things maybe that
it's not always fun and games. Let them know, Branson. Yeah. It's not always fun and games.
I mean, the immediate thing is, as I said, when I was taken off the beat because of working on another project. And so for 3 years, I was basically working in the office, not on a beat, not doing where a lot of my skills are. And and it was almost a thing of, could, force people to quit and to, okay, I'm not doing what I want to do at this point. Why am I still here? But hey, for me, it's easy. I had to provide for my family. Okay. So I'm going to go to work every day. But what I do a lot, too, is I draw from other examples. I'm a guy that loves sports, and I love biographies and things of that nature. And I just remember Muhammad Ali, for 3.5 years, he couldn't fight because of his convictions. And he didn't give up. He just kept getting ready for that day. Yes. So for me, I said, there's something that I can do while I'm waiting. And from, again, encouragement from friends, a buddy said, well, why don't you learn how to shoot and edit video while you're sitting there? Wow. and he said, why don't you talk to the editor about sending you to, there was a camp, if you will, in Florida. It's called the Pointer Institute. A lot of journalists go there to learn new skills. And so they had a week class learning how to shoot and edit video. So I went there for that week, and I learned how to shoot and edit video. Wow. And then by the time the editor who took me off the beat retired, a new editor came in, and I said, hey, I got these writing skills. I have these shooting and editing skills. How about I help the Browns beat? And he said, yeah, how about it? That's a great idea. Right. So, so those 3 years of, instead of sitting and pouting and doing things of that nature, I learned another skill.
Learn new skills. Ooh. That's what people can do during the quarantine.
There you go.
Yes. You don't have to. Yes. I mean, if you lost a job or not working as much as you want to, right. This is a perfect time to learn something new. Yes. Learn something new. Turn it into a positive. Turn your frown upside down.
Make a negative a positive. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Branson, we know that there are going to be ups and downs in our career. And it'll make you sometimes question. You talked earlier about having doubt of whether this is what you were supposed to do. What has been your greatest accomplishment thus far to say, you know what, this was worth it? I'm glad I hung in there.
Wow. I can't just say one because it's just, so many, one after the other. The fact is that I didn't become a police officer. I wanted to become this journalist. The fact that I'm taking off the beat, which led to my film career.
Right.
The 2008 wanting to do The Women of Troy, not knowing how to do it, and here 12 years later. My first film took several years.
Is that The Blur or another one?
Blur.
Yeah, okay.
Blur took several years to finish. So I think, and even with life, it's these ongoing challenges, or as my good buddy always says, it's Delvis Valentine. Corey, you know him if you see him. Wears the nice suits, has the hat. My friend Delvis, he says there's not problems, there's only solutions. And so that philosophy is I didn't know the name of that before I met Delvis, but that's how I've been trying to live. That there's solutions to things, and as you said about the quarantine and people, okay, what am I gonna do? And sit there, go to class. You can go online, and there are free courses.
Yeah, even at Harvard.
Yes.
There's a course they're offering for free.
Yes. Free. You can take these courses. So, and I call it, this is a chance for you to go into the gym. So when it's time to fight, that you're ready.
Yes.
You ain't got to get ready. You're going to be ready.
Yes.
Right. Not just physically, but also mentally. Build up your stamina, your resilience.
Yes.
Emotional and mental strength. Absolutely. So what is an ideal project for you? You have every resource right at your fingertips, the person you want to work with, the ideal project that you want to put forth as your gift to this world.
Wow. Just continue to make films that will help empower people and just have them think, and the stories that haven't been told. I mean, there's so many documentaries that I have a long list of documentaries and films that I want to do. And if I might add, last year? Yeah, last year I signed a deal with Sony and Steph Curry's Unanimous Media to do a film.
Wow.
And because I was a beat writer, that helped lead to that.
Congratulations on that. That's exciting. Yes. Hey, we can't wait to see what comes. We're all sitting here like, is he about to drop a release right now on Lucas Live? We were leading in like, what's coming? But
we know sometimes you can't tell.
You can't tell us everything you're working on. We understand. But you got to come back on the show and drop some stuff for us, all right? So
yes.
It's amazing. Right. So tell us more about that. So the Steph Curry project, the company, I'm sorry.
It's But this one's not a documentary. It's a film.
Okay.
And now I got this Corona going on, so that's kind of slowed things down.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll start shooting, before the end of the year, and then hopefully we'll see a film next year.
Well, they're doing a whole Disney, or I think it's coming on this week or something. The whole cast is like we are, separate, but they put it together. And just like the BET thing, and Kurt Franklin had a whole choir.
Right. Yes. Never know what you can do virtually.
Let the ingenuity and the creativity kick in, because we can't let Corona stop us.
No, not
got to keep it going. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I look forward to seeing so many more projects from you, Branson. I'm really glad that we've stayed in touch over the years. Yeah. And just real quick, he had mentioned how he covered the Cavs. I used to work for the James Family Foundation, now called the LeBron James Foundation. And I believe what I can visualize right now is that we met at the arena, and they were in practice, like shooting around or something like that. And I believe I was there with Chris Dennis. That's our mutual friend. And that's when we originally met. And from there, just seeing each other at different events and stayed in touch. And again, I really appreciate you following me and seeing that I was in this mental health space and sharing Mr. Bess's story with me, because that was very, very inspiring. I'm really glad that you all covered it, and it really shed some light on the seriousness of mental illness and how we can work together as families and friends to help those who are dealing with it. So thank you so much for what you are doing and what you will continue to do.
You're welcome. And again, thanks for, thinking of me to have me on. I really, really enjoyed this. And I'm going to have to continue to tune in.
Yes.
Thank you. We'd love that. That would be awesome.
Share.
This is the future here.
Lucas, I just want to share also for resources. We talked about individuals who may feel down. There is an article I want to share with you, and maybe you could post it as well. But also NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, has resources that are available online, especially right now during quarantine, where people can't go have face-to-face, peer-to-peer support or family-to-family peer support. Yeah. But you can text. Everybody has their little handy-dandy iPhone or whatever kind of phone you have. But you can text NAMI, NAMI, to 741-741. Again, that's NAMI, 741-741. And that's for 24 hours, 7 days a week, confidential support where you can talk to someone. You can also call 1-800-950-6264. Again, that is for NAMI. And if you just want to know about all of the different resources for wherever you live, because we know this is global. This is a global platform that Lucas has here. Yes. You can contact in the United States, NAMI. But there are equivalent organizations in other countries. So please check those things out. But you can also go to the website, nami.org, and that's nami.org, to find out about all the different types of services and programs that are available as resources. You don't have to deal with this alone. You don't have to try to support your loved one alone. There are resources that are available. So please do all you can to be all you can, not only for yourself, but for your loved one. And please know that you do not have to have a mental illness to care about your mental health.
Thank you so much, Corey Branson. Corey, thank you guys so much. You guys have been wonderful. Corey, wonderful guest host. I welcome you back to be a guest host again. We'll have to do this again. Branson, you were wonderful. Thank you for sharing with such transparency. Thank you for educating, motivating, and liberating our audience. You were a wonderful guest. Thank you both so much. We really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, audience of Lucas Live, thank you for being here with us on this Mother's Day. Get back to your families. Get back to your mothers. Get back to your children. Everybody have a great night.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.